Alright, so let's start to talk about the sequence of movements associated with the stride or the gather stride. Okay, first thing that happens with most hitters is they gather to the backside. So you see an inward turn of his shoulders. He starts to gather to his back hip. Alright, so he turns his shoulders inward and he turns his front knee inward on that lift. So he compresses the energy into his back hip right over here. Okay? So now he has this compressed energy. What he's going to do is, as he turns back, compress the energy in the back hip. And I just want to point out that you didn't see much movement of his back knee or his head. All right? So his head and back knee are not moving backwards. All right? He's inward turning against his back hip. So now, once I have this compressed energy in the back hip, now we're going to stride forward to the ball. So now I have forward momentum. I'm moving all this energy forward. And as I'm moving the energy forward, you see what he's doing here. Okay, he starts to bring the bat, tips the elbows back, so the bat handle is now pointing back at the catcher. So you see the handle started at us. As he rotated back, he started. As he started moving forward, he continued that movement. And as he now continues forward with his forward move, let's notice his back elbow. His back elbow is going to move rearward. What that is a loading of the scapular muscle in the back, and it kind of locks the bat into place so we don't prematurely open our shoulders and slot our back elbow. It also brings the hands closer to the shoulder, or the bat handle closer to the shoulder and into the swing plane, which we're going to talk a little bit more about later. And now what he's going to do is he's going to stride to the inner part of his front foot, the inside edge. So the ball of the foot, inside edge of the heel, is down. As he does that, you see how his back foot does the same. He tips to the inner edge of the back foot. So what we do here is we talk a lot about advancing the back knee. So his back knee is going to advance forward. What that does is that's going to start the hips. Okay, so he advances his back knee somewhere between toe touch and heel plant. Some guys do it before, some guys do it once the toe touches, some guys do it while the knee's in midair. Okay, they start to open their hips, and at heel plant, you'll see that the hips have started to separate from the shoulders. So his hips has started, but his shoulders are still on that downward slope and haven't began their rotation. So the hips will rotate prior to the shoulders rotating, and that's why it's so important to have that scap load of the elbow going back to hold the bat and to keep the shoulders into that resistance. So they're going to resist what the lower half's doing until it's time to go. All right, so we see the front foot down, the back knee advance, and you start to see the hips and shoulders separate. You could see that there's wrinkles in his shirt, and he starts to stretch the muscles in there. Now, once he decides to hit it, now he allows his shoulders to turn and starts the swing, which we're going to get to in more detail later. But that is a typical way to stride. There are other ways to stride that we're going to look at and to talk about. All right, so just to recap, we have inward turn against the back hip, stride out, back elbow roll, point the bat back towards the catcher. Now forward movement to the inner edge of the front foot, hips start to open, back knee advances, and this is a typical position. So regardless of how guys stride, they all wind up into this hitting position. So now when I do a video analysis, those are the things that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a downward slope of the shoulder. I'm looking for this angle of the bat. I'm looking for the back knee advancing. I'm looking for a decent 45-degree angle or less on the front foot, and I'm looking for some type of hip-shoulder separation. Some guys that stride more typically get, or stride further, typically get more separation. Guys that stride less get less separation, but we need to see some type of separation, which is indicative of the back knee advancing right there prior to the shoulders rotating. So that's our first look at the stride. More to come.